Hello, welcome back to this hobby of ours. My name is Dee, and in this watch collecting game, a worker needs his tools. This week's episode, we're going to check out a few of mine. It's been a while since we've done a how-to video, so why not? Let's jump into it. The basics. Learning how to change out your watch straps and bracelets is about as close as it comes to changing the oil on your car. And I don't mean by complexity, I mean by the sense of empowerment, the sense of doing it yourself. I remember when I was just starting into my watch collecting and had to go to the mall to my watch guy to swap out a bracelet or whatever. Sometimes he didn't even charge me. And the reason is because it took his guy in the back just, not even 2 minutes to do it. So doing it yourself is a fabulous thing. It's an affordable thing. And if you're worried about working on your own watches, go onto eBay, look for a lot, L-O-T, of used watches. They can be broken, beaters, whatever. And, 30, 40 bucks, you've got a bunch of junkers to practice on. Let's get into the tools, and thank you for the Christopher Ward C60 for being voluntold to stand in here. Another reason I'm going to use the C60 is it's one of my bracelet strap watches thing that is on the scale medium to high of difficulty to get it out. Sometimes in certain brands, the fitment of the end links is so tight that it can be challenging. This is typically on lower cost watches. I don't mean the Christopher Ward in this breath. I mean lower cost watches can be more difficult to get the bracelet off. Christopher Ward is somewhere in the middle, and it's also tied to the spring bars. 9 times out of 10, if you have a problem getting a bracelet off, it's because you have a bad spring bar, so swap it out. First batter up, masking tape. This will come into play when we get into putting the bracelet back on the watch. Now, I love watch tools, and as I've gotten on in age, I've come to realize that it's good to spend money on your tools. In the watch game of fixing stuff, you don't always have to buy the top of the line tool, as you'll see here in a few moments, but this here is the Bergeon 6767, and it is the one tool that you absolutely must spend money on. Have no fear, it's only 20 bucks. Now the 6767 comes in 2 models, -F and -S. F stands for fine, and let's get it up in here. Ooh, where are we at here? All right. And that is the F fork for fine. This is the side you use for bracelets. The other one is S, and we'll just pretend that that stands for strap because it's the larger fork, and this is the one you use on straps. Never use this one on your straps, otherwise you will put a hole through your finger. Ask me how, I know. Now the 6767 does not naturally come with both of these. It comes with a pin pusher, and this is good for bracelets that have drilled lug holes, or more commonly for these bracelets that have these micro adjustments. That's what I use it for. Not a lot of my watches have the drilled lug holes, unfortunately. So what you do is find one of them on sale, either the S model or F. One of these forks will automatically come with this on the other end, and then you go to let's see where I get this from, Esslinger or O'Fry's, eBay, Amazon, and buy the other fork. So 20 bucks for the bar and like another 10 bucks for the additional fork, and you're set, you're good to go. You got it going on, and this is one worth spending money on. This is just a rubber finger condom thing. This I bought off Amazon, and I got like 3 or 4 of them, different sizes. This is what people in accounting and finance business use to count cash. And I put this on whenever I'm changing one of these for 2 reasons. One, because this is rubber, it helps keep the watch steady in my hand, but also for protection. And as you can see, even with it one time, the fork went through here. And yes, I got cut, but it wasn't as bad if I had not had this on there. Maybe it was a bit foolish, maybe I was roughhousing. You gotta be careful, but this is $3 well spent. Now this Bergeon is going to handle 90% of your strap and bracelet changing needs. The other 10%, I found that I need a specialized tool, and there are two that are out there. This one is made by Bergeon has one of these, Swiss quality. This is the cheaper version, and Horotech has one. I think the Bergeon version of this goes for $100 or more, and you don't need it. You can get the lower end one. I think I got this for $50 or something like that. But what I did is I upgraded the forks to the actual Bergeon forks, which was needed because the ones that came with this were a bit janky and they broke, I think, on the first use. But the Bergeon forks are better. And in truth, I have only used this, or needed to use it, on exactly one of my watches, a Chase Durer watch, which is a lower end watch, and it's because the fitment of the end links was so freaking tight that I couldn't get the bracelet off with this tool. The downside to this tool is this is V-shaped, and it's, you know, the fulcrum here is locked to that, and you notice that V portion isn't naturally conducive to what you need to do with a spring bar, which is you need to apply equal pressure, you know, in a perfect vertical motion, whereas this is not vertical. So you can pass on this one, I think. And I owned this one because I didn't want to buy this one. And this mostly sits in a drawer now, except whenever I need to take that bracelet off of the Chase Durer, because even this one didn't do the job. Now this model is what you would consider a tweezer model. This is the Bergeon number. I'll pop that up. And at least with this tweezer, you're getting a more natural and consistent motion like that when you're going into it. Now this Bergeon model is based on the standard model for the Rolex repair centers. Every now and then one of the Rolex models slips out onto eBay. It's like $1,200 or $1,400, which is absurd. I get it. It's a Rolex only part, or tool rather, but you don't need to spend that, although I totally want one. This one functions pretty much the same, and if you snap a fork, they're replaceable. And this is a general all-around good one. It just so happens that I don't need to use it as much. I get by with this 9 times out of 10. This one's worth having. I think I paid like $150 for this. Yes, that's a lot. But if you're buying used watches, if you're buying a lot on eBay, save up your e-bucks. And if you get a $50 e-buck certificate, $100 e-bucks, or, you know, Christmas, birthday, mom, dad, auntie, whomever gets you a gift card for Amazon, that's when you buy this tool, because it takes the sting off of the $150, knocks it down to $100 or $75 or whatnot. And it's absolutely worth it. I'm glad I have it. I just don't need it all the time. But it is a good tool to have. Do I have the number there? Oh yeah, there we go, 7825. Yeah, I like this tool. All right, last, this is just a basic cushion. I think this is actually the Bergeon cushion. I went through a phase of buying the expensive tool stuff. I was single and alone, and I needed a hobby. But it's worth having, and it's good to have some kind of cushion. And this right here, this is a new addition. This is a silicone parts mat, and Amazon, $20, absolutely worth it. And definitely you want to protect your watches, the watch surface. So what I would probably do is have this, if I was using the tweezer tool and I needed for stability, I would have it here. Plus there's the overhang, and so on and so forth. So now that we see the parts, we have another 2-stitch strap in the house. I'm gonna email them for some sponsorship opportunities after this video, I think. So let's get into it and start going to work on our voluntold Christopher Ward. First things first, we want to open up the bracelet as much as possible just to get some more room here. Now the general thing you're going to be doing here is, I'm a righty, so with my left hand I'm going to have this index finger up against the end link, and I'm going to have my thumb on this side of the end link. So I'm kind of holding it like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to exert pressure holding the end link, but I'm also going to be kind of moving it this way, almost as if I'm trying to pull the end link out laterally. And the reason that is once I get the fine fork into there and I start working that spring bar, I need to actuate the spring bar in such a way that it gets it offline from the spring bar hole. And the pressure moving it outwards keeps that spring bar from slipping back into the hole while I go downstairs to get the other spring bar offline. So a little bit of pressure right here. I'm going to actuate that spring bar. Gonna pull it like you're not gonna be able to pull it very far, so just gently pulling it out. Then I'm gonna go into the other one. All right, let's try this. All right, I got it. And I'm gonna slip that, and I'm pulling, and it's out. And I will be honest, that came out a lot easier than it usually does. And it's probably because when I got this watch in, I replaced the spring bars. A good spring bar will behave well. All right, let's close this baby up. And now we're going to switch gears, and I'm just going to put on one of the 2-stitch strap sides. Slipping it in there. And whenever you mount a spring bar into the strap, this should be common sense, but make sure that it's sticking out uniformly. Sometimes when you get new leather straps, there can be some blockage in there, and you can just, get a little hobby knife in there and gently cut away, ream it a little bit if you need to. Okay. Now we put on our finger condom, and we're going to be switching. We just used the fine fork. We are switching to the strap fork, and you'll see it's slanted a little bit. I like to go in on that angle. So what you'll want to do is I will guide this bottom side of the spring bar into the hole. So I'll land it, move this into position. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Heavens to Betsy. My goodness gracious. It is time for some masking tape. And the reason we use the masking tape is that we don't want to get any lug rash. And, the reality is lug rash is going to happen. It's a thing. But if you can prevent it with something as cheap as masking tape, why not? All right, getting up in there, mounting the lower one. And the reason we have the masking tape here is sometimes you're going to have to lean this spring bar on the lug as you're trying to get your tool in there, just like the natural fumbling of one's hands. So we get there, we pull it down. Oh, and it's in the lug area, but it hasn't landed in the hole. Oh, it just landed. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of fishing sometimes to get it up in there. So now it's on. Right. Oh, it's on the wrong side. No worries, we're taking it off. So just like that, have my thing situated. So I use the S fork, get it in there, and just pull it down a little bit and it should pop right out. Now that we're ready to put the bracelet back on the other side, we want to open her up back again. Now there are two schools of thought on this, and most times you want to do this on the underside, right? That's the natural seeming way to load it. But I've found over the years, particularly with my Christopher Ward watches, I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I have to go over the top. And that was very unpleasant for some reason. And it was, I got to say, it was probably amateur hour, because I haven't had to go over the top in a long time. But the fitment on some of them was just not, it was just too tight, and I had to go over the top or in from the side, which is not great, I realize. Now this is a time when we definitely want to masking tape up. Probably didn't need it on the leather watch part, but you definitely will need it here. In case you have to go switchy, we'll put both sides on. Okay. So, you know, if putting it back on gives you a lot of trouble, sometimes what I'll do is I'll pop out a pin so that I don't have this, you know, gangly thing. I haven't had to do that in a while, but don't feel bad if you have to pop a pin out so you have a separate bracelet portion to load in here. But this one came out pretty easy, so hopefully it'll go back in just as easy. All right. Now what I do is I push the spring bar all the way through the bottom side so that it's not hanging out, right? So there's nothing there to obstruct lining up the end link into the channel. And once it's in the channel, oops, yep, did a runner on me. Maybe that tape's blocking it. This just does not want to go in. You know what? I'm going over the top. Going over the top. Can't believe I'm doing an over the top on my first video on this. All right, she's on the top. How annoying. All right. Gonna poke it in a little bit on this side, slip it in. Oh. Locked, loaded. And that is going over the top. I don't recommend over the top. Last resort, but it was fighting me. She was fighting way too hard, just didn't want to go in. I'm gonna pop this out and see if one of the other tools would have made going in the normal way a little better. All right, back off. Let's see if the Bergeon 7825 has any better luck getting this C-Dub C60 to play ball in the usual fashion. So I don't think it likes that masking tape being in the way. Why is that such a burden? I can't even get this to stay still long enough in order to pick up the tool. You know what? Failure. I can't even get this end link to behave long enough to use this tool. So this tool isn't going to work. This Christopher Ward is horribly misbehaving, and going to teach it a lesson. Over the top. Again. Going over the top is not for the faint of heart. Oop, now it's getting caught on the masking tape. There we have it. And don't be surprised if your hand cramps up while you're doing it. I don't know, maybe it's because my hand's old. But some end links, some bracelets are only going to go on one way. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, I never have that much trouble with my Omega bracelets. And I love Christopher Ward. You know, but this is an older watch, and who knows, maybe that spring bar is janky. But speaking generally, if you have the tools at your disposal, whether it's this one, that one, or this one, you have options. And if all else fails, yes, go to a jeweler. Why not? And if you develop a good relationship with one, which you should be, hopefully you have access to a local one. Then whenever these little things come up, it's low charge, no charge. Hope you've enjoyed this little trip through tool time with a hobby of ours. All right, have yourself a great one.